Politics, our new Bloomberg Politics online poll conducted by our friends at Purple Strategies. We call it a Purple Slice Survey because it looks at one important demographic for the general election, that is married women. Mitt Romney won that important group of voters in 2012, according to the exit polls. This year, our online poll shows Republican married women favor Donald Trump over Ted Cruz, 37 to 32%. But in a general election, Trump, Cruz, and Hillary Clinton all have extremely high unfavorable numbers with that group. Joining us now from our Washington bureau to explain the poll further is the Purple Strategy CEO and Democratic thought influencer. That's what the teleprompter says, Steve McMahon. Steve, first just talk about the methodology of how you all are doing these slice polls for us.
Well, they're online surveys, as you mentioned, and we're taking a quick look. Al Hunt had the brilliant idea, and it really was a very smart idea, to take a look at some of the slices of the electorate that are going to make a big difference in this election, ultimately determine the outcome, and take a look at how they're performing this year as opposed to 4 years ago. And you've already given the headline. Among married women who Mitt Romney carried by 7 points 4 years ago, Hillary Clinton has a 12-point lead over Donald Trump, which represents a 19-point swing in the direction of Democrats. So go down the ballot if you're if you're looking at Senate races or House races, and see what happens when you put a 19-point swing in there. It's not going to be a pretty picture for Republicans if this slice holds the way it is.
So was that the most surprising thing for you? The sort of good news here, I guess, for Hillary Clinton?
It's very good news. Mark mentioned a moment ago, Campbell, that none of these candidates is particularly popular on their own, standing alone. But in comparison to another candidate, Hillary Clinton looks a lot more popular and a lot more appealing to a group that went for Mitt Romney by 7 points 4 years ago. If I were in the Clinton campaign tonight looking at these numbers, I'd be very, very happy.
Is there anything in this, if you're in the Trump campaign tonight, you'd look at the numbers and say that's some good news?
Well, Donald Trump leads in areas where you would expect him to lead. They're not necessarily partisan areas. So, for instance, if you ask who's going to do a better job changing Washington, Donald Trump has a lead among these married women over Hillary Clinton there. If you ask who represents, who's going to bring new ideas to Washington, Donald Trump has a lead. And if you ask who's going to be better at creating jobs in America, Donald Trump's business experience really helps him there. On the other side, though, if you ask who's ready day one to be president, Hillary Clinton wins that. If you ask who has the temperament to be president, which I think is something that you're going to see debated, discussed, and voters focusing on a little bit more, Hillary Clinton has a lead there. And then if you ask, who's going to be a better role model for our children, obviously Donald Trump doesn't win that, Hillary Clinton does. And, all those things are, I think, good news for the Clinton camp.
Steve, I know you asked about Trump's position on abortion. Tell us what people said about that.
It's interesting. First of all, people don't really understand what his position is as much as they think his position is not the same as theirs. 50% of women reported, these married women that were the purple slice that we looked at, 50% reported that his position on abortion is not the same as theirs. Another 19%, I think, correctly identified his position, and 31% were unsure. So, notwithstanding all the attention that Donald Trump's abortion answer, or his 4 or 5 abortion answers last week got, most voters haven't really received the information. They kind of think he's not standing where they are, which is a little bit of a problem for him. They're not really sure where he stands, with the exception of a minority of women who actually do understand where he is.
And Steve,
I still don't.
We'll do more of these slice polls, but it's safe to say, isn't it, that you can slice and dice the electorate in a number of ways to figure out a way Republicans might be able to win a majority of the popular vote. But if they don't do better than this survey suggests with married women, there's no way for them to do it, right?
That's exactly right, Mark. You can look at these demographics and you can compare how the candidates today are doing relative to how the exit polls showed the candidates to have done 4 years ago. And in this case, it's a 19-point swing in Democrats' direction, which, again, if I were Mitch McConnell or Paul Ryan, I'd be really pretty concerned, because regardless of how Donald Trump does, whether he wins or doesn't win, if these numbers hold among married women, you've got a down ballot, really a down ballot debacle if you're a Republican.